Welcome to This Explainer. You know that feeling when a truly great story just pulls you completely out of your own reality and places you squarely inside the head of someone else? How do writers actually construct a psychological reality so deep and emotional that it feels like you're living it yourself? Well, physical action and plot are really only half of the equation. In fiction, voice is everything. Today, we're going to unpack the incredible architecture of fictional expression. We'll explore how writers build characters not just through what they do, but by masterfully controlling what they say, how they think, and perhaps most importantly, what they desperately try to hide. Okay, let's quickly check out our roadmap for today. We'll start with the overall architecture of voice, move through dialogue and monologue, and then plunge straight down into internal monologue, stream of consciousness, and finally, the hidden gap.
All right, Section 1, the architecture of voice and how we build character.
Moving into Section 2, Dialogue, the public surface. Let's start our descent at the very tip of the iceberg. Dialogue. Basically, this is spoken conversation happening externally in the physical world of the story. Its absolute superpower as a literary tool, immediacy. It gives us, the audience, this direct front-row seat to interactions exactly as they unfold in real time. We're literally watching the volley of words just as the characters experience it. Just listen to this quick exchange. You should have told me the truth, Elena said. You wouldn't have believed me, Marcus replied. In just 2 short lines, man, you can immediately feel the friction, right? There's history here, an accusation, and a quick defensive parry. We witness the tension and the avoidance directly, just by observing their spoken exchange. But here is the catch. Because dialogue is a public performance, it's actually pretty limited. Characters use it to navigate social dynamics and power structures. So this means they frequently lie, they suppress their true feelings, they perform just to be polite, or they hide their real intentions behind layers of subtext. A confident character might dominate the room, while a manipulative one carefully redirects the chat. Dialogue is honestly just as much about what characters are trying not to say as it is about the actual words leaving their mouths.
Section 3, Monologue, taking the stage.
So what happens when that back-and-forth ping-pong match suddenly stops? Enter the monologue. This is an extended, continuous speech by just one character. And giving one person complete control of the conversational floor, it totally shifts the power dynamic entirely. The ping-pong match is over. This character has taken the stage, and whether they're confessing a dark secret, passionately arguing a point, or having an emotional outburst, everyone else in the room, and us, the reader, well, we're forced to listen.
Just feel the weight of a passage like this. You think this town forgot what happened, but it didn't. Every person here remembers that night. They just pretend not to because pretending is easier than admitting they stood there and watched. When a character takes up the space to speak uninterrupted like that, it exposes deep-seated beliefs, raw memory, and dramatic accusation all at once. It's highly theatrical, it's intense, and it absolutely commands attention.
Moving on to Section 4, Internal Monologue and Private Truths.
Now, we're plunging right beneath the waterline into those private spaces where literally no one else can hear. Internal monologue is a character's private thoughts presented directly to us, completely unspoken. The other characters in the story, totally oblivious to it. And I really want to emphasize this. This technique is the holy grail of character connection. It grants the reader ultimate emotional intimacy. We bypass that public performance of dialogue entirely and gain direct, VIP access to a character's true fears, anxieties, and desires.
Which brings us to a massively important literary concept, interiority. This is the representation of a character's inner mental and emotional life. So the absolute crucial point here is that in psychological fiction, or any story with strong interiority, how a character internally reacts to an event matters way more than the event itself. The plot is really just an excuse to watch the character's consciousness process things. Notice the brilliant contrast you can build with this. Externally, the character acts completely normal. He smiled at them across the table. Very polite, right? But internally, the smile felt heavy on his face. They were laughing again, always laughing. Maybe they already knew. We drop instantly into this dark, conspiratorial, paranoid tone. It creates incredible dramatic irony, because we, the audience, know something the people sitting at that table definitely do not. But here is a fascinating twist for you. Private thoughts aren't always objectively true. Just because we're inside a character's head doesn't mean we can actually trust them. This introduces us to the wild concept of the unreliable narrator. Characters will constantly internally rationalize their harmful behavior, distort their own memories, exaggerate their fears, or flat out deny reality. They might think everyone hates me just because a friend texted back late. It's their truth, for sure, but it is not the truth.
Section 5. Stream of consciousness. The unfiltered mind.
All right, prepare yourselves, because we are sinking into the deepest, most turbulent layer of psychological fiction. Stream of consciousness attempts to replicate the raw, unfiltered flow of human thought exactly as it happens. It completely abandons neat, grammatically perfect sentences to mimic how our brains actually work. And let's be real, our minds are chaotic. We bounce erratically between sensory inputs, sudden memories, present fears, and random observations, all in the span of a few seconds.
Feel the sheer momentum in a passage like this. The hallway smelled like bleach again, and suddenly she was 12, standing outside the principal's office, waiting, always waiting for someone to call her name, and why was the clock so loud? There's zero punctuation slowing us down there. It showcases the immediate immersive rush of jumping straight from the smell of bleach in the present directly into a childhood trauma in the past. It's a pure, unedited psychological experience.
And finally, Section 6. The hidden gap, speech versus thought.
This right here is the ultimate narrative payoff. It's that friction between the polite social surface and the chaotic private mind. Consider the spoken dialogue. Of course I forgive you. Smooth, acceptable, peaceful. But the internal monologue, she hoped he couldn't hear how hard her teeth were grinding together. The dramatic tension there is just incredible. The character is speaking a polite lie aloud while internally boiling with hidden resentment. This exact space, this gap between speech and thought, is where the deepest conflicts in literature and film live.
Think of this breakdown as your own personal analytical toolkit. Next time you read a book or watch a show, really look for these layers. Notice when dialogue is creating social interaction. Pay attention to when a monologue suddenly spikes the dramatic intensity. And relish that internal monologue, knowing it's granting you exclusive, private intimacy with a deeply multidimensional character.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer on the architecture of voice. So, I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. The next time you step into a fictional world, don't just passively listen to the words being spoken. Ask yourself, what remains entirely unsaid? Look for those hidden gaps, the suppressed emotions, and the unvoiced fears. And most importantly, question whether you can truly trust the voices echoing inside a character's head. Thanks for joining me, and happy analyzing.